Good morning, everyone. I wanted to do the in the bag prior to the Long Island Open. I know we last did this, I think April of 2020 when none of us could play. So it's been more than a year. I'm going to see what's in my bag for LIO this year. Putting putters, same as always, the KC Pro AVRs. One is fairly new, one is extremely beat up. I'm a pitch putter, so most of my putt comes from just the wrist popping and the hand opening. So I like there to be a stiff rim, so I feel like there's resistance against my fingers. That's how I get rotation. And since I only have, 2 or 3 rotations every 30 feet, every one is extremely valuable. Approach putter, I have 2. The Glow P2, which I hope I never lose because they are very expensive. This one I got at one of my first tournaments for a CTP. This was in 2019. I like to forehand this disc. I feel like that's a shot that's sort of unique that I like to throw, which is a hyzer forehand with a slow and glidey putter that just pops up and then finishes. Very consistent shot for me, where other people are throwing backhand approaches, which I'm very uncomfortable with. So P2. My backhand putter is a Plasma Proxy. Thank you to Kyle Ebbinger for giving me the idea for this disc. This is a slot I'm very uncomfortable with, so I've worked on a lot of discs and I really like this. It's got sort of a mid-range feel to it, but it's slow, neutral. It's kind of a disc that I think might bring the backhand putter shot into my game, which I'm excited about. Thank you, Kyle. My last putt and approach disc is a Zone. I don't really like to throw overstable, low glide shots. I tend to think in terms of flip and glide, but sometimes you need a low glide disc. This is the 2019 Long Island Open Zone. It's very pliable, not super overstable anymore. It's just very reliable if I need to hit a forehand nice and aggressively, or just a backhand placement shot. Like I think about the first shot on 11 for a lefty, just to plop one on the short tee pad. You got like a Zone. Mid-ranges. I carry 3 mid-ranges, not 3 molds, just 3 mid-ranges. Don't throw a ton of mid-range shots at Heckscher. I might have more mid-ranges in my bag at a more technical course, but Heckscher tends to just be like bomb and gouge for me. But these are important. So the flippiest and or straightest mid-range is a Comet. I have a couple of Comets that I bag, a more understable one for wooded courses, but at Heckscher I'll just be doing with this MJ Comet, just for shots that have to be a little bit finicky, up shots. Always going to be in my bag just when I need it. My workhorse mid-range is the Opto Compass. I threw KC Pro rocks for a couple years. This to me very much feels like a rock or a Rock 3, but the plastic is just so lovely. It's so sticky. So to me this has a quality that the rocks never had, which is just glorious plastic, neutral flight. This will be my play on 12 at Heckscher as a lefty, just to throw a straight mid-range that just lands flat on the road, hopefully. Yep. And sort of my workhorse open field mid-range is a prototype Malta. I bought a couple of new Maltas recently to see if I could have some backups, and they're not as stable. This one is more overstable, the prototype, so I don't know what'll happen if I lose it or it becomes beaten in. Probably have to find a new mold, but for now, this disc is money for me. It's just, I throw it and it hyzers eventually, which is what you want when you're throwing an upshot from, 260 in an open field, just something like that. I only have 2 fairway drivers in my bag. They cover a lot of shots though. So I have the Discraft Sting. This is a more overstable Sting than the one that I also have for trick shots. This disc on a hyzer will pop up to flat and then turn over and finish flat. So it's sort of at 300 to 320, it mimics the flight of a forehand. You know, I'm very comfortable throwing forehand for wrist shots, but as soon as you start including other levers, I'm not as good as other players. And in order to play at the level that I want to play at, I have to find a backhand shot, at least until I figure out how to throw a long forehand. Because I mostly only do that when I'm in trouble. Sometimes it works out, but it's lower percentage. So to score, I'll throw something like the Sting, like that, and then it'll go there. My workhorse fairway is a TBird, very beat up and old champion TBird. This was the first disc I ever got after my starter pack. Going out from the starter pack, I got a TBird and a Mako 3. So this is the actual TBird that I bought, then I haven't lost it yet. I've lost every other disc from that year, 2017, when I first was interested in the game. But this is still there. I love throwing it forehand and backhand. It's a very neutral, straight disc with a little bit of late stability. I throw it a lot. Now to the hybrids, which is where I spend most of my time throwing these discs. I'd say most holes I throw one of these discs. There's two Undertakers. We have a stiff ESP Undertaker, which is a little more overstable. Shares more with the Thunderbird in sort of what it is. 330 feet, 300 to 330. This is the disc. In the woods, I have a much more flexible ESP Undertaker. This is understable to straight, and this is for hitting lines. This I can throw 250 to 330, but you know, it's more about the line than the distance. I'll also throw it on forehand for like just very sort of unique utility shots. Throw the Undertakers tons. My overstable fairways are more utility for me. I don't throw them very often unless there's wind. I have a Star Thunderbird that has Firebird type stability. It's max weight. It's basically forehands and windy backhands when I want the Undertaker flight, but there's too much wind. And then a Sexton Firebird for Firebird shots. I probably only throw this once out of every 2 rounds. Not my preferred shot, but if you need a Firebird, you need a Firebird. Nothing else you can do about it. Distance drivers. Wraiths. I mean, this is a trace, but a trace has the same mold as a wraith. So we have two. We have a plasma trace, which is new and a little stiff. This is more overstable. If I want to throw 340 to 360 flat and hard, I'll go for this trace. It's not going to turn over on me unless there's a heavy headwind. It's just going to go flat and then stay straight and then finish. This Wraith, I've been throwing since 2018, and it's beaten up. So this Wraith is more understable. It'll flip up to flat. It doesn't go much farther than the trace. I'm still looking to get 320 to 350 out of this disc, but it's a different shape. So I can start it on hyzer, then it gets to flat, maybe tips a little bit and lands flat. Just a different kind of shape. Maybe a second shot on 10. You know, this is going to be the disc. I have two Destroyers in the bag. This one is a 167 Paul Macbeth Star Destroyer. Like most of my discs, a little bit pliable. This is a throwable destroyer for me, forehand or backhand. If I want to fight wind and get a basic straight flight, if I want to actually throw a spike hyzer, which I pretty rarely do, this is the disc. Maybe for, I can probably throw it 300 to 325, just some sort of shape that's going to fight out. I throw this fairly often, especially when it's windy at Heckscher. Then I have the unthrowable destroyer, max weight, domey, super heartbeat. I mean, I probably can throw this 250. It's so overstable. And so when I throw a forehand and just want to roll over on it and just yam it, or if there's so much headwind, I'll throw this disc. It's just a utility disc. Big drivers for distance. I throw the Halo Shrike. That's my longest disc. It requires space both left and right to throw. I'll start it on a little hyzer. It'll tip up, fly, and then finish. If I start on a lot of hyzer, It'll flip all the way to there, carry and finish. This is a disc that I want to fly my maximum distance, which is like 380 or 390 in neutral conditions. That's all I got, and that's what I'm gonna get out of this disc. If I need a shot to turn over more, hyzer flip even more, I have this Champion Strike. This is more of like the forehand substitute, where I'm gonna start it on a fair amount of hyzer and expect it to really turn over, or start it flat and get it on full anhyzer, or even roll it occasionally. But this I will only play around with in neutral wind conditions, because it's a little bit dangerous when the wind picks up. And then a utility disc, Crank SS, extremely fast, extremely bendy. This is the most understable disc in my bag, and it is for rollers or just trick shots. It's just a get out of jail, put down a quick roller, backhand roller. I like to throw rollers like my regular shots, regular angle, and then have the disc do the rolling. I don't really put it on an angle. I like to just throw it and then it hits the angle. So that's this disc for me. I lost it at Maple Hill, but I eventually got it back. They mailed it to me. It says "Rollin', Rollin', Rollin'" on the rim. And that's it. That'll be my bag. We'll see what happens. Ah.